goddamn get it on, will ya? Woo. When the blow up now, everybody's so unusual with it. Shit. But said times in his rhymes, cause his memories, we running through New York.
Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over 5 things you should never do in an automatic transmission. Now, a lot of you guys, especially in the US, all have automatic transmissions, and I get a lot of you who end up with a lot of issues with your automatic transmission problems. So today I am going to be showing you what you should never ever do on the ZF gearbox, and this applies for actually for all cars with an automatic transmission, because it should be the same for all cars, and you should never do these certain things on an automatic transmission on your car. Okay guys, so as you'll see here, this is the automatic transmission gear stick. Now, a lot of people are not aware these ZF boxes are very temperamental. And that being said, what a lot of people do is from park, they will just go into drive, and then before coming to a stop or letting the car stop, for instance, when you're rolling, they will end up just slamming it into reverse to reverse. That is the worst thing you could ever possibly do, is put that into reverse while the car is still moving. The next thing on this is do not leave the car sitting in drive with the e-brake up, as you'll see here, because this is engaging the torque converter, and all you're doing is causing the torque converter to be spinning while it's engaged to the engine itself. You don't want to be doing that, because that's bad for your torque converter. It's also bad for your gearbox, also bad for the mechatronics. And on the ZF gearboxes, they do not like to have that done. And a lot of people do that. They'll just leave it in gear, leave the handbrake up. As you see, the car's not going anywhere, it's not rolling. But this is the worst thing you could possibly do to your automatic transmission, is by doing that. If you are going to come to a stop and be rested, put it in park like that and leave it there. One, it brings the idle down, as you see properly. If you get the gear and you pull it into D, you see the gear shifts, and the car feels very like jerky because it's in drive, because the torque converter's engaged the engine. So you don't want to be doing that. You want to be able to just pull it into neutral. If you're stopped with the handbrake up, that's fine. And you want to be able to pull it into park like that. Now, the next thing a lot of people do, and they don't even realize this, is they will have it in neutral or in reverse like that. And as they're moving, they will just touch this and hit it straight into park. So another thing here, which you guys probably ain't aware, is on BMWs, you cannot put this into park. So if we go through the gears now, we can go into D, neutral, but to get into reverse, you can't knock it. Now, on old style transmissions, you could easily knock it with your hand and it will go into R and then into P. With this, it won't let you. There's a protection feature on this, which is very good. You have to click the button, which is behind here, to be able to enable reverse or park, as you see. Without that, it will let you only go into drive, neutral, and if you're in reverse, you can just click it down into any of the gears. But if you're in reverse, you can't just knock it into park, and vice versa. If you're in drive, you can't go into reverse or P. On older style transmissions, that is very easy to do. For instance, we get a lot of people, and we used to get this in the garages, where people would be holding the gear stick, not even know, and their hand will just jerk and it will slam it into park. That is a complete no-no. That is something you never ever do on an automatic transmission, because if your hand slips and you end up pushing it into park, that will completely destroy the whole gearbox. And this is the same for drive. A lot of people can still do that, but BMW build this in that you can't push it by accident. So if you end up slamming it into park while driving like that, it will be your own fault, and BMW know this. Why do they know this? Because you cannot accidentally put this into park. You have to press that lever for it to go into park. And as you guys know, the newer style shifter, the LCI shifter, is virtually impossible to get that into park. Now, what a lot of people ain't aware of as well is that when you're in drive, as I said, do not roll the car forward while you're revving up and while the car's still rolling, and then just pull it straight into reverse. That is not a good thing for the gearbox whatsoever. And like I said, all that will end up doing is just destroying your gearbox. These are the common mistakes a lot of people do make on these gearboxes, is doing them wrong, shifting wrong, and also not putting them in the right gears at the right time. Now, as you guys know, on the automatic transmission on the BMW, you also have the manual and sport override here. So if you knock this to the left, you'll then get it in sport mode. Now, if we just click this down one notch, you'll see it's in M2. If we click that up one, we're now in M1, so we're in manual 1. Now, The only other good thing about this is when you put this in here is you cannot go up into parks, you have no problem. But what a lot of people do is they forget they're in this, and for instance, they will be here in drive, which as you see on the dash is in drive. Then what they will do is while they're driving, they'll knock this over, and I've seen this many times, and they'll ask themselves, why is the transmission feeling a lot more responsive, it's changing gears later, and I think there's something wrong with the gearbox. There's nothing wrong with the gearbox. A lot of people end up knocking this over into sport mode, don't even look at the dash there that they're actually in DS, and then find out that their car's actually rolling in sport mode and not in the actual drive mode, which is over here. A lot of people do that because it's very easy to just slip over very lightly. You see it just kick straight over to the sport mode, and then you're in sport, and then you just move it back to D. Or they end up touching it when it's over in that corner, and then you see it's drive sport, then you see it's in manual, and then they ask themselves why it ain't changing gear. Then they're thinking, again, there's another issue with their gearbox. Why? Because it ain't shifting. They're saying in first, revving it, and it's not moving, and they're not even aware they're in manual sport. You have to be careful with this gear shifter. As I said, BMW built this technology to make sure you cannot slam it in park, because this was a common problem on many cars prior, older cars, where you could go through all the gears without it having a lock, and this has always been the case. Now they don't let you, they only let you move up and down between the gears, and it's very dangerous for the gearbox. If you accidentally even shift that into park and you touch this button and you slam it in park while the car's moving, well, let's just say you're going to have no gearbox, and your whole gearbox is going to just completely grenade on you. And the same for if you're trying to shift it from reverse into drive while the car's still moving. That is a complete no-no, and do not do it. So I hope these tips are going to help you how to drive an automatic transmission properly. When it's in drive, drive it normally, make sure everything's running correctly, and treat the gearbox properly, and the gearbox will last you a lifetime. You see this car is on 163,000 on the original gearbox. The fluid has been changed on it prior to when I bought it, so it's something I don't need to do. But if you neglect it, it will neglect you. So just be aware of that, guys. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope this has given you a brief demonstration, a brief information on how to look after the ZF gearboxes. This does apply for other cars as well. This is not just strictly for BMW. So I hope this video is going to help you now understand the things you must not do on your automatic transmission. And as I said, it does apply for all cars. Thank you very much for watching this. BMW Dr. Dean here, and goodbye.